is Jie Huang. I am an associate at Scott Legal PC. Today I'm going to compare and contrast the EB1 Extraordinary Ability Green Card and the EB2 National Interest Waiver NIW Green Card Pathway. The EB1 and EB2 NIW are generally known to be green card pathways for high-performing individuals. And by high-performing, I mean the applicant usually does more than just provide good services for an employer, but the person stands out in a way by offering new or original contributions to the industry and beyond. Both the EB1A and EB2 National Interest Waiver are popular pathways for a green card, but it is important to know that the government is looking for two very different things in an EB1A and an EB2 NIW petition. An easy way to understand this distinction is that the main focus of an EB1A application is the applicant himself or herself. So in easy words, you are trying to prove that you are well known in your field, that you are famous for your work. Now, the major focus of an EB2 National Interest Waiver petition is the work that you're proposing to do in the United States and whether that work is of national importance. For example, you could be working behind the scenes, but what if you help develop a patent that makes batteries for electric vehicles less costly to manufacture and more efficient, for example? And what if you're proposing that you would do further research along that route in collaboration with a US company or a US university? That sort of work would be well suited for an EB2 National Interest Waiver petition, even if you personally are not well known for that work. So let's dig a little deeper and look into the specific requirements to qualify under the EB1A Extraordinary Ability category. Congress intended to set a very high standard for qualification in this category. So each applicant should show that they have sustained national or international acclaim, which means they are broadly recognized and famed for their work in their field of endeavor. And one important language to keep in mind of is that this category is, and I quote, reserved for the small percentage of individuals who have reached the very top of their fields of endeavor. So the important question is then, how can you prove that you have reached the top of your field as required by the EB1A regulations? What the government will do when they see an EB1A petition is they will do a two-step analysis. The first step of the analysis is whether you have technically submitted any evidence meeting at least 3 out of the 10 criteria that is listed in the regulations. But the more important second part is what is called a final merits determination. And in that stage, the government will ask, looking at all of the evidence in a holistic way, altogether, does the evidence actually indicate that this person is one of the very small percentage who have reached the very top of their field? So it is possible for someone to submit enough evidence to pass the first stage, but that their application is ultimately denied at the second stage, final merits determination. For example, let's assume that an applicant submitted proof that he or she published one scientific article, submitted proof that he or she performed one peer review for a journal. And lastly, what if the person can submit proof that they receive a salary that is at the top 20% percentile of his or her field, his or her profession? Now, that will be enough to get them past the first stage analysis, but at the second stage analysis, can one scientific article, one peer review, and a slightly higher salary really be enough to prove that this person has reached the very, very top of their field? The answer is likely no, and it is likely that this person's application will ultimately be denied at the second stage. Now let's shift gears a little bit and look at the EB2 National Interest Waiver category. What requirements would you need to meet in order to qualify for the National Interest Waiver? So first of all, you do need to have an advanced degree, which is defined as a master's or an above. So a PhD, for example, Master of Arts, Master of Science, an MBA, a JD, a Juris Doctor, or an MD, a medical doctor, should also work. Second, and this is the more challenging part, you need to persuade the USCIS officer that you meet all 3 prongs for the National Interest Waiver test, which is outlined in a case called Matter of Danazar. So the first question the government will ask when reviewing a petition for national interest waiver is, does your work in the United States have substantial merit and national importance? And by that, it's usually not enough to say that you will provide good services to your immediate employer, to one company, or to your immediate clients who are using your services. Really, the government is looking for evidence that your work will not only benefit one company or your immediate clients, but will have broader impacts to the industry as a whole. For example, new research that is published in academic journals or published in patents frequently advance the state of scientific knowledge and are usually shared with other experts. So that can be a good way to show that your work will have industry-level impact. The government is really looking for how you are offering innovations or other advancements to the field that will improve how things are done in the industry as a whole. The second question the government will ask is, are you well positioned to advance the endeavor? And for this, the government will want to see a record of success in prior related endeavors. For example, if your proposed endeavor is to conduct research in an important field to the US, such as electric vehicles or artificial intelligence, have you done research in similar fields, and have you published such research in the field? And has your research been cited by other experts in the past? Has your work been featured in the media, for example, even if your name is not personally mentioned? Have you worked on any government-funded research projects? Those are the questions that the government will be asking and useful for you to consider as you're preparing your NIW petition. So the third and last question the government will ask is whether, on balance, it will benefit the United States to allow you to work without requiring you to get a sponsorship from a US employer. Now, you do need to have already met prong 1 and prong 2 to get to this point of the third and final question in prong 3. So you would argue, for example, that the national interests that are served by your work is sufficiently urgent. For example, in a fast-moving field in science, such as artificial intelligence, semiconductors, 5G networks, it could be within the interest of the US to allow you to hurry up and get to the US and make these advancements before other competitors in other nations could jump in that field. And if you're an entrepreneur, and if you'll be creating jobs in the US and raising tax revenues for US governments, that is also something you would emphasize to support your case in the third prong. In conclusion, I hope this video makes it clear that the focus of an EB-2 National Interest Waiver petition and an EB-1A Extraordinary Ability petition are very different. For example, an athletic coach who is famous in his or her country of origin could be planning to come to the US and open his own gym and mentor, let's say, a dozen students per year. Now, that could be a challenging case for an NIW because it is hard to show a national level impact from his teaching and mentoring activities in the US. However, if this person is indeed famous to a degree of sustained national or international acclaim in that athletic field, then this person may qualify for an EB1A because the focus of an EB1A application is on the person himself or herself and how well known is that person in the field for his or her outstanding work. For this reason, it is highly recommended that you discuss with an experienced attorney who can really look at your facts and recommend you the right option for you that'll maximize your chances of approval in each category.